Good morning, good morning, good morning, beautiful people. Good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time it is, just know this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. As always, God is good, and He is good all the time. When you process information, view it through an objective mind. Try not to use the mother freaking social constructs that have already been created and implanted in your brain to make sense of it, right? Taking all the information before you make a judgment, because you don't want to haphazardly mother freaking be out here making judgments, and then you making assumptions out here looking like a big ass. People don't even give a damn the intricacies behind, like, well, why'd you take this plea? Why are you guilty? Why were you convicted? Well, I didn't do anything, I just took a guilty plea. Well, why did you take a guilty plea if you didn't do anything? People brains can't even fathom that. They don't understand that people take pleas because they got jobs. They're trying to speed the process up. They ain't trying to drag this out. They're afraid that the worst could happen if they go to trial, because that's what they tell you. If you go to trial, you could get the maximum penalty. But what they don't tell you, if you go to trial, you're more likely to get your case thrown out. So we got to do a video on it. Everybody has been talking about it. It's everywhere. It's still active. And it's the case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So currently, there's an active defamation case that Johnny Depp had filed against his ex-wife Amber Heard for defaming his character basically throughout their divorce, right? And so the claims are that basically with the things that she said about him, it ruined opportunities for him, whether they were employment, things of that matter. And so he's suing for defamation. Now, this is not an analysis video regarding Johnny Depp. Me personally, I don't care to do any of that. There's ample amounts of data out here, or not ample amounts of data, but there's ample amount of content out here where you have people ripping apart, Amber Heard's and Johnny Depp's personal business for their own, to exploit them for their own gain, whether it's to provide entertainment, to get views, subscription or subscribers, whatever the case is. And that's not what this is, right? I'm the antithetical antagonist, right? Tira, the antithetical antagonist. And basically, my whole thing is to give you an opposing view, right? I'm the op, right? It seems like, I won't say everyone, but majority of people are on this bandwagon of either choosing sides between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And me personally, I'm the person that's out here saying, hey, why are we treating a domestic violence case as if we're watching our favorite football team or basketball team play, our rival? Like, it's crazy that people are picking sides on a matter that is like so fragile and vulnerable, and they don't know the ins and outs surrounding this, right? When it comes to domestic violence, like as I stated, it's a very sensitive subject, right? It's so sensitive to the point where that there's difficulties measuring mother freaking, domestic violence. There's difficulty measuring it because of the fact that beyond definition, it's really hard to like distinguish what domestic violence is. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's an intimate crime, right? It's a crime. Most people don't even pay attention, right? But if you are to be raped, murdered, any form of assault, right? Data shows that you are more likely to be assaulted, whether it's rape, murder, molestation, what have you. You are more likely to be assaulted by somebody you know. That's what they call close proximity crimes. Like, people love to bring up black on black crime. Well, other races kill and cause crime and harm amongst one another within their own groups. Black people ain't the only ones that do it. Women tend to do it to women. Men tend to do it to men. blacks to blacks, whites to whites, Asians to Asians, you know what I'm saying? Poor to poor. You know, people tend to stick within their reach, right? It's very rare that you'll see someone go across boundaries, you know, to go wreak havoc and commit a crime on somebody. It's not as often that you'll hear someone leave the suburbs and come to the city and commit a crime and then go back to the suburbs. It happens, especially because it's so easy to put blame on the city, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so diversified. There's a blame of crime and poverty. So it's easy. However, it's not as often that you hear it, right? Majority of the time, when you hear of a crime happening in a location, that person tends to reside in that location, right? It's the same thing with immigrants, right? Immigrants tend to have crime inflicted upon them by people who live in their proximity. That's just what it is. And so a lot of like I said, you're more likely to be assaulted, you're more likely to be abused, you're more likely to be harmed by someone you know intimately, whether it's a family member, a friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse. It's someone you know, and that's on average. The numbers are higher. Now, like I said, yes, you do come across those rarities where you have these situations that happen that is just out of the norm. That's just out of the norm, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, excuse me, I had a phone call. But at the end of the day, what happens on average is that people tend to commit crimes within their reach, within their proximity, right? You're more likely to be assaulted. You're more likely to be harmed by someone you know that lives near you. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to situations like domestic violence, right, it's hard for me personally. I don't choose a side when it comes to this Amber Heard thing because, one, it's unfair, right? See, majority of my educational background revolves around criminal justice. And so most of what's up in this brain is data that surrounds criminal justice. Domestic violence falls under criminal justice, right? And when we researched domestic violence in my undergrad, we have found that there's numerous reasons why domestic violent cases are so brittle, right? So a lot of the times people aren't reporting their experiences, and it's for numerous reasons, right? When it comes to domestic violence, people tend to refrain from reporting it because, one, they view it as something that, like, this is my personal business. You know, this doesn't have anything to do with the police or outside people. Two, it's embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? And then there's that fear of like retaliation, like, oh, well, if I get the police involved, if I say something to somebody, you know, my abuser are going to retaliate against me. There's all types of different factors that plays a role in domestic violence cases. So on average, a lot of domestic violence situations go unreported. I mean, many people didn't even know that Amber Heard was involved in all these domestic violence situations because of the fact that niggas just ain't out here telling their business like that. You know, Johnny Depp decided to come forward because of what reason? I mean, I could put an assumption there. I like to think it's because, you know, when you go through a divorce and people put the reasons out for the divorce, one, you're putting personal business out here, right? When divorces, anything that pertains to family structures, it's messy, right? And the falling apart of them is messy. The same thing happens when there's children involved in these divorces. If you ever sit in on some of these family court cases, talk to these, you know, the people who experience these, you will come to see that a lot of them don't even want to deal with it. It's just, it seems as if this is one of those things that you have to do because these divorces, family dramas can become very, very messy to the point where it's like, okay, well, I feel like I can't handle this on my own. I have to involve lawyers. And once you involve lawyers, it becomes even more messy because these niggas, to them, it's just a paycheck. For majority of them, you're a paycheck. Okay. I've had several people. I have the ambitions, of becoming a lawyer. I'm striving to become a lawyer. Set it up, going to law school, took the LSAT and all that wonderful jazz, right? And so when I talk to people about becoming a lawyer, and they're like, "Oh, what lawyer? What type of law are you plan on working in?" And when I tell them, criminal law or immigration, the first thing people tell me is like, "Well, ain't much money there," especially when they hear more into my background, because criminal law, there is means to get money. But me personally, because I know all the disadvantages and the cons of the criminal justice system, and the fact that majority of people cannot afford lawyers and they're forced to deal with public defenders, yet you're only provided a public defender for criminal matters, not matters outside of criminal, criminal cases. So a lot of times people just get the short end of the stick because they can't get an adequate lawyer, or they just, they can't afford a lawyer or something of the sort. And so when I tell people, like, I want to be a lawyer where I can be affordable, I can help the little people be like, ain't no money in there. Why don't you become a divorce attorney? There's money in there. Or become a celebrity attorney, or some patent and law. And if their mind is always money. And people, I tend to find that people who chase money with their careers tend to have stressful motherfucking jobs and careers. And it don't always last, People be so ran down and turned and all types of wild stuff. But people straight question me, like, why you want that field? There's no money in it, right? And a lot of the times, you're just a paycheck to these people in these court systems. You're a paycheck to the judge. You're a paycheck to the prosecutor, right? It don't matter what arena you're looking at, whether it's criminal, family, real estate, motherfucking wills, At the end of the day, we're a paycheck. I mean, if you really think about it, the police ain't nothing but asset protection. Because New York State, and I know this is a little off, but New York State, majority of its revenue comes from traffic violations, traffic infractions. People get pulled over and getting traffic tickets. Majority of New York State's money, our government makes the bulk of their money through traffic infractions. And then you wonder why the clearance rate for, solving murders and other crimes are so low, yet they do a wonderful job with motherfucking catching people running stop signs and speeding, driving without motherfucking adequate, identification and such, and documentation. And it's a money grab, It's a money grab. And that's these systems, these court systems, these judges, these prosecutors. It's all for money, right? And so when you look at these domestic violence situations and you bring these up in there, to them it's just money. Like, for instance, nobody will really care about this situation going on between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard if it wasn't for the fact that they're rich, right? See, me personally, I never really knew Amber Heard. I like to think that she's a relatively newer actor, right? But I grew up watching Johnny Depp. I've seen movies in Johnny Depp when he was, late teens, early 20s. And this nigga's like damn near 60 years old now? You know what I'm saying? And so, one, these court cases don't happen the way that they normally function, right? One, it's an outlier. You got wealthy people involved in a domestic violence situation. Not only that, but the media is showing their court case to the world. On average, this is not what these court cases look like. And because this is not what they look like, they function differently, right? These cases that makes it to media's attention, this is not how these cases happen on average, right? Where you got all these people talking about evidence this and evidence that and evidence this. You guys have what they call the Csi Effect. And you think that the criminal justice system, the real life criminal justice system, functions how you see it function on television. And it's just not true. A lot of cases are resolved by plea bargains, right? A lot of cases are resolved by pleas. settlements. You know what I'm saying? Not all the time does it go this far into trials, and not all the time is motherfucking evidence involved. Not all the time are you going to have expert witnesses, because at the end of the day, this stuff costs money. That's why majority poor people who are brought through these systems, they get motherfucking pro bono lawyers attached to them or public defenders attached to them to get help, right? And then they're usually exhausted. These lawyers, you got one attorney that has like a caseload of like 100 overseeing your court case, and then you expect them to deal with your court case with adequately and efficiency. And a lot of times it's not happening like that, because these people, they're exhausted, they overworked, they're underpaid, they're understaffed, and then they got to deal with your stuff. And then some of these cases be so thick and extensive that it's like, they like, man, I need to get this off of my motherfucking docket because I just ain't got time. I'm ready to just poof. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is real world, but it don't look like that with Johnny Depp's situation, because Johnny Depp got money. Johnny Depp sitting in motherfucking court with sunglasses on. That's not what it looks like in the real world. Even the same thing with that Maxwell Ghislaine, or Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever the freak her name is, the chick that's mixed up with Epstein and his motherfucking sex ring with young people. This chick going to court with some big old sunglasses on and a hat. Every time I go into my local court, that's the first thing they do is take your sunglasses off and your hats. Rich people, they're not even held to the same standards, and they don't even have to abide by the same rules that we do. So that right there in itself just shows that this stuff functions differently. Then with them having money, they're able to bring in witness experts. They're able to bring in all these evidence because they have money. Money makes people do things, and it makes people create spaces and time for stuff that they don't have space and time for, revolving around the regular person, the average poor person. Money, like that saying go, money walks, or money talks and it makes stuff walks. You know what I'm saying? That this is what it is. Right? And so a lot of us, we picking sides. Oh, I'm on Johnny Depp's side because I grew up watching Johnny Depp. A lot of it, there's nostalgia attached to it. There's all these biases that you taking into consideration. And the fact of the matter is, this is hard proof that people are incapable of separating their ideologies from themselves when it comes to engaging in something that normally you would say you need to be unbiased, you need to be objective, you know what I'm saying? You have to have an open mind, you know what I'm saying? You can't be partial, you have to be impartial. And that's the same thing that's applied to judges. And you expect people to do these things, but how do you expect them to do these things when their ideologies is what makes them, right? Your thought process is your thought process because of your ideologies, because of your beliefs, your morals, your ethics. You can't separate yourself from that. How you feel about women, you know what I'm saying? You can't separate that. If you feel that women just be out here lying and making up stuff and lying on guys and saying they're abusing them when they're not and raping them when they're not, if you are to sit in as the jury or as the judge and to oversee this matter, you're going to rule in favor of the guy because already your views towards women in this situation is obscured. So you're not going to be able to objectively view this situation and make a pragmatic decision. You're just not. It's because of your own motherfucking biases taken up, you know? And that's what's happening with this case. And it pisses me off because it's like there is no true justice, right? It don't matter if you're rich or poor. When it comes to the criminal justice system, the court systems, it's the winner is who has the biggest clout, who has the most persuading, narrative, who has the most money, right? We seen Kyle Rittenhouse get off, even though we all seen him murder people on TV, full blown with a gun, but we seen him get off. Why? Because community members came together and funded this young man who normally would have been found guilty and thrown into prison. You know what I'm saying? He's a poor white kid. You know, he ain't got much. He probably would not have been penalized as hard as if a black person or Latino or Native American or Asian person had did what he done. But he would have been penalized. But when you get people on board and you got people fight for you, you got lobbyist groups, you got people funding you, you know, putting resources into you to support you, you got people showing up to your court case with you in support of you, it's going to work in your favor. And that's crazy because these are things that is considered extra legal factors. These ain't got squat to do with nothing. It ain't got squat to do with the evidence. It ain't got squat to do with what you did and did not do. It ain't got squat to do with you. Yet these things are taken into consideration before a verdict is rendered on your behalf. Your education background, your employment status, you know what I'm saying? What you look like on the outside. See, me looking like this off the rip, engaged in criminal justice matters, I'm off the rip eliminated. It don't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter with having, you know, the background I have with having a higher education or owning my own house and this, that. That stuff doesn't matter in certain areas, right? So if it's me versus white people, that stuff don't matter. But if it's me versus other black people, I'm more than likely going to benefit because status wise, I look better than a black person who don't have a high school diploma, government assistance, renting out their property. You know what I'm saying? They look poor. These things do not matter, yet they play a role in our systems. And people make decisions based on your appearance. Even the Bible says that the way humans look at things is so flawed because we look at things from on the outside. We take a look at it and we judge it based on what it looked like. Oh, that person looked clean. That person got their hair done. That person got a nice suit on. They must be wealthy. And the whole time niggas is broke. Or we assume that this person is trash. They're outcast. They're nobody. They're bummy. They're homeless. They raggedy. They ain't got no education. The whole time this person is like a king. You know, but they're trying to come in a more humble way. They ain't trying to draw too much attention. But our flawed ways of viewing things is what messes us up because we look at things and then we interpret information based on what we see. And then we process it based on the motherfucking innate knowledge that we have, no matter how limited it is. And then we make decisions based on this motherfucking limited piece of brain power. And that's what happened when we see this Johnny Depp situation, right? I got people coming at me assuming that I'm taking sides with Amber Heard just based solely on the fact that I have a motherfucking vagina and some ovaries, a uterus. Like, nigga, I'm not taking her side. What I'm doing is showing you data, right? I'm showing you data. Let's look at this. It says victims of domestic violence are less likely than victims of other forms of violence to report their experiences to the authorities because of the beliefs that their abuse is not a matter for police involvement. Their experiences are too trivial, which means it's too complex for anybody to even help them. And it's tailored to them. Because how you on the outside going to help them if you don't even know their situations and, you know, the intricacies? Too trivial or fear from reprisal, aka retaliation. There is thus significant underreporting of domestic abuse by victims, and it is acknowledged that data on reported incidents and cases prosecuted, which has recently started being collected by the criminal justice system, represents the tip of the iceberg. So even the data that's out there is just a very small percentage, right? But when we look at the data that is out there, right, it says nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. In 1 year, that equates to about 10 million people. In the United States of America, there is about 330 million people. If in 1 year, 10 million people are experiencing abuse, that means In a span about 30 years, every individual in the United States will experience abuse. Come on. 1 in 4 women have experienced severe intimate partner physical violence. For men, 1 in 9 men. Now you have to take into consideration that when people think of domestic violence, because of the way society is structured, people automatically associate abusers with as the man and the victim, the women. And it reflects in data because majority of those reporting abuses as victims are women, and those that are reporting their abusers, it's males, right? However, society has shaped men into just dealing with the nonsense, not reporting it, because if a man reports that he's being abused, and it doesn't matter if it's by a man or a woman, because people fail to realize, yes, data shows that males on average are abusers. You do have women abusers, but males on average are abusers, and females aren't always the victims. Yes, in higher numbers, according to the data that has been reported and collected. According to the numbers, women on average are abused higher than men. However, sometimes that data is misconstrued because of the fact that men are just not reporting their abusers and their abuse. Because one, it's this society has pushed it onto males where you just got to deal with it. Suck it up. Be a man. It's weak to talk about a woman. You sitting here getting abused on by a woman. And then you got men out here abusing men too, whether it's physically, sexually, emotionally, verbally, what have you. And if a man was to report that, he would be viewed as soft. They'd be like, go handle your own work, man. It's these ills that we have created in society that prevents us from getting true justice. Because we want to put gender roles onto things and make things that aren't masculine, and make things that aren't feminine, and make it seem like this only applies to this certain group. And nah, bro. No. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. This involves sexual violence, stalking that results in injury, fearfulness, post-traumatic stress, even diseases. 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of motherfreaking physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 4 men. So out of every man in the United States of America, out of a group of 4 of them, at least 1 of them have experienced motherfreaking domestic violence by their intimate partner. For women, 1 in 3 women. Now you see how close that data is? 1 in 3 women have experienced some form of physical violence by their intimate partner, and 1 in 4 men, right? 33% of the women have experienced some form of physical violence by their intimate partners, whereas 25% of the men have experienced some kind of violence by their partners. You see how close this is, right? So I don't know why we're choosing sides when everybody is experiencing this. And I don't know why people are making this well, nobody cares because of a man. We don't even know all the data. Like, these people, personal business is being put out there and we're using it as entertainment, right? And not to say that this is what Johnny Depp is doing or Amber Heard is doing, but a lot of times even abusers get involved in authorities and they try to sue and all this other stuff and counter sue to make themselves seem like a victim, even though they're the ones inflicting harm, right? It's this thing of control where I know with my own personal experiences, not just me, but like my family, I have a sister who endured domestic violence where this guy would abuse my sister, not only like physically like harm her, but do this in front of her children. He would cut her TV, all types of stuff to invoke fear. And then he caused tension between me and my sister where he would, oh, you know, your sister looks better than you, or your sister doing better in life than you, and your family don't care about you. And then he would do all this stuff to the point where my sister started to believe it And now my sister started to withdraw herself from us. So not only did she not have the support she need to sustain, to deal with that situation, but she's dealing with this guy under the guise that I have no one else to go to. It's just me and my babies dealing with this nonsense, right? And for the longest, my sister didn't report any of this. She wouldn't complain until it was so severe to the point where her children, were being put in harm's way. And she'll reach out to my mom. But even when the family would get involved, there's this like, no, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Because it's like at the end of the day, we got to go home, and we go home to our homes. She go home, this nigga still at her house. She can't just put him out because according to the laws, if somebody is receiving mail at an address for at least 30 days, that is their place of residence. So she can't just kick this dude out. Not only does legal mean start to muddy stuff, but the fact that she has a child by this guy, like stuff starts to get weird. And then you have to take into consideration. People are like, well, you knew what kind of person they were when you got with them. People don't be Satan themselves when you get with them, right? Y'all ever heard of all these serial killers out here? These motherfucking psychos where they're literally, it's stated that these people were charming, right? They lure you in thinking like, oh, they're a kind person, they're handsome, they had a beautiful smile, they were so nice to me. And then all of a sudden a switch flipped. Now, yes, abusers have been abused in the past. Majority abusers have traumatic backgrounds. There's no way around that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I want people to understand, like when you look at these situations, not even just these domestic violence situations, but even these criminal matters where you got people accused of killing police officers or harming police officers or causing some kind of crime. You have to take into consideration that unless you sit in that motherfucking criminal court case, you're not aware of all the information that they have. And even if when you are sitting in there, they take that information and they twist it to fit narratives that they're pushing, right? A prosecutor and a defense attorney can have the same information, and yet the way that they interpret that information is drastically different. You'll have one who can interpret some information and be like, okay, well, this young man, for example, in Rochester, New York, a young man was charged with harming a police officer. He allegedly had stabbed the police officer in the eye. Now, the prosecutor can use that body-worn camera footage and says, look at this. This man he was trying to hurt this officer. He stabbed him. He was fighting him and all this other stuff, right? His intentions was to harm this police officer. Then the defense attorney could look at that same video and say, well, this man was not in his right state of mind. We've heard him speak previously that he has no memory recollection of what had transpired. We even see him in the interrogation where he's asked, questions about the police officer. He even asked about the police officer. Well, was the police officer okay? Because to this person, they didn't cause no harm to the police officer. They don't know what happened. You literally could take you could take the same piece of information and get two different motherfucking perspectives on it. So that is why I say, not everything is what it seems. Not everything is what it seems. You can even see video footage. And just because you see that video footage doesn't mean it's transpired how your brain is processing it. Because there's things that is happening within this video that you have no control of. You have no access to, no awareness to, right? I can't physically see the physiological changes that is taking place in, Keith Williams' body as he interacts with this police officer and the vice versa with a police officer. I don't know the thought process that's going on in their head. The only thing I can see is what is physically happening, right? We go back to humans. We walk by sight and not by faith. We make judgments and decisions based on how our brain processes visual information. And a lot of the times it's obscured, it's misconstrued, and it's flawed. 1 in 7 women have been injured by an intimate partner, and 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner. 1 in 4 women have been victims of severe physical violence, including beating, burning, strangling by an intimate partner throughout their lifetime. 1 in 4 women. 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence. 1 in 7 women have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime to the point which they felt very fearful. And they believed that they will be harmed or killed. 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner to the point where they felt fearful and believed that someone will harm them or kill them. Now, mind you, this is from the crimes that has been reported. This data has been collected and, put together. This is just from the stuff that's been reported. Imagine the crimes that go unreported. You can always look up what they call the NCVS, the National, I want to say it's the National Crime Victim Survey or something like that. Let me Google it. I forget what NCVS. Yeah, National Crime Victimization Survey. And basically what this survey is like, it tries to gauge data for crimes that has not been reported, right? So it sends out surveys saying like, hey, have you been a victim to a crime? If yes, what is the extent? When did this happen? How old you were? It is trying to get some information to collect data for crimes that on average aren't reported, right? This motherfucking survey has its flaw, just like every other data, right? No data is exclusive. All data could be refuted. It's always changing because you have more researchers coming out, not only proving that their theories are correct, but you have researchers out here proving that theories are incorrect, or maybe they have some validity, you know what I'm saying? But they're not all the way like accurate, you know what I'm saying? So data isn't 100%. Science isn't 100%. However, it's good enough to use as a baseline because it's a start. That's why it said it's the tip of the iceberg type of thing. So I say, I say all that to say this. Be objective when you view these things. Don't try to view it through like, well, this happened to me. I had this experience, so this has to be the same experience here. No. Everybody's experiences are not the same, right? You cannot categorize people experiences. You cannot categorize abuse. I had one person to sit here and try to tell me that physical abuse was worse than mental abuse. To some people, physical abuse is a cakewalk compared to mental abuse, right? See, for me, you can hit me all day because you hit me 9 times out of 10, nigga, I'm hitting you back, right? But if you try to sleep deprive me, my nigga, that's a whole nother ball game, which is something that I dealt with in the military, right? When it comes to physicality, I'm all for it. But things changed when I went through sleep deprivation, when I wasn't eating adequately throughout the Marine Corps, because in boot camp, they put you through all these stresses. It's a way to train your body to get used to it. Not having adequate amount of sleep, not going off of no food, you know what I'm saying? Try not to touch your face. Even when you want to smoke a cigarette, not smoking a cigarette, especially in the middle of combat, because that motherfucking cherry to the enemy could be like, oh, that's where the enemy at. And they shoot you right in your motherfucking cherry. And now they done shot you in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? There's all types of way to view this. Mm-hmm. And to look at these situations as if like, well, it ain't that bad because I can handle this. No, everybody experiences and everybody measurements aren't the same. Well, I think I may feel that I can tolerate physical abuse a little bit more than emotional and mental. Somebody else is like, nah, you ain't put your hands on me. I can't take that. I can't handle that. But I legit had a person say, well, what would you rather? Nigga, I would rather neither. None. Nunca. Nadie. I don't want none of it. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and categorize it and make it seem like physical abuse is worse than the other forms of abuse. They're the same. Because what is motherfreaking grotesquely crazy and traumatizing to you may not be viewed the same to me. We're different. I process things differently, which is obvious, right? I don't look the same as you. We ain't the same. Shoot, identical twins ain't even the same. Even though they share a lot of DNA, nigga, even they are two different people. So I say all that to say this. When you process information, view it through an objective mind. Try not to use the motherfucking social constructs that have already been created and implanted in your brain to make sense of it, right? Taking all the information before you make a judgment, because you don't want to haphazardly motherfucking be out here making judgments and then you making assumptions out here looking like a big ASS. You don't want that. View things objectively and try to take consideration like, well, this is what this person say. The only thing I can do is take this person for their word because I'm not them. I don't know their heart. I don't know how this experience had affected them. And even if I was to put myself in their shoes, I still don't know because it hasn't happened to me. And even if it did happen to me, we're two different people. How I process information is not how you process information. So the only thing we can do is take what somebody says at face value, respect what they said, and take it as their truth, because for them, it is their truth. Whether you believe it or not, that's their truth. And then just move on from there. Trying to put our own feelings and thoughts onto it and interpretations don't do squat, but make matters worse. I recommend educating yourself. And remember, the stuff that you see on TV, especially when it revolves around these court cases, it's not what it seems. It's all a facade. The criminal justice system is raggedy. It's very flawed. Very flawed. Okay? 90% of court cases are resolved by plea bargains. It's literally people taking pleas or settling out. They're not looking at all the information that's before them, and they're not making decisions based on that information. You know what I'm saying? They're not looking at the evidence and making decisions on that. And when they do, it's so flawed because, like I said earlier, it's who has the most convincing narrative, who has the most support, who has the more money that wins these cases. It's not about justice. It's not about right and wrong. It's about something had happened, someone's harmed, there's a victim, there has to be some kind of payback, and at the end of the day, we getting paid off of this. That's the criminal justice system in a nutshell. And I also recommend, because court cases are open to the public, no matter what niggas tell you, it's open to the public. Go sit in on your local court cases and you'll see that these things do not pan out the way you think that they should. You know, how you see them happening on TV. That is a facade. And it's definitely, court cases definitely do not happen, even the real ones that make television. Because like I said earlier, there's this bias that's attached to it based solely on the fact that it made the news. Because out of all these thousands and thousands and thousands of court cases around this world, hundreds of thousands of court cases that happens around this world, year-wide, you know, we ain't even got to look at the world. In just the United States of America, there's tens of thousands of court cases that happens every year. And out of those 10,000s of court cases, right, these people aren't looking at all the facts and the evidence. They're just like, well, we don't got that many judges, we don't got that many prosecutors, and we don't have that many public defenders. This one public defender got about 100 cases by themselves. This one judge is overseeing hundreds of cases in 1 year. We got to lighten up their caseload. So how do we speed this along? Well, we still want to get paid off of this. These people got to go through the criminal justice system. We can't let them all off because for some of them to be here, some of them have to do something. So you know what? We're just going to make it the same for everybody. We're going to offer everybody pleas, even though your case is lacking motherfucking evidence. There's like proof that the police violated your constitutional rights and all types of stuff. But you got to take consideration. They never look at the actual like information. And when I say they, Even your public defenders, they briefly look at your stuff, and then they get with the prosecutor, and they're like, we need to make a little decision. Okay, what can we what plea bargain can we work out? Because we ain't trying to do all that. I got to get on to the next case. All right, I got to get on to the next case either. So this is what I offer. Half the time, they're not even looking at your situation, man. They don't look at your situation until you actually take it to trial. I know, because it happened to me. I went through 3 William Weir, Brittany Clark, some random guy that turned me down, and then I ended up with Michael Whitmer. So I went through 3 different lawyers before I landed in the last one. And I felt like this nigga ain't listened to a motherfucking word that I said, Michael Whitmer. I repeated the same stuff to this nigga so many times. And by the time when it came to my actual trial, he was all like bringing up this information as if he just came upon it today. Because at the end of the day, that nigga wasn't looking at my case. He didn't read nothing. He didn't look at nothing, because at the end of the day, he has other motherfucking cases he got to deal with. He's juggling. At the end of the day, they don't give a damn. They're just going to process you out. They don't look at your stuff until that junk go to trial. And if you think about it, if every individual in this world, not even in this world, in the United States, if everybody was to reverse it and to not engage in so many pleas, because like I said, 90% of cases are resolved by plea bargain. Less than 10% of cases actually go to trial. And of the 10% that goes to trial, less than 5% are convicted. So for example, we'll say City A. City A sees about 2,000 court cases a year. 90% of court cases are resolved by plea bargain. So that means of the 2,000 court cases, about 1,800 of those court cases are people just accepting guilty pleas, doing the jobs of the prosecutor, the public defender, the judge, and the jury, making their jobs easier, worsening themselves off because now they got a conviction. They got to deal with the stigmatization of being a convict. You know what I'm saying? And people don't even give a damn the intricacies behind, like, well, why'd you take this plea? Why are you guilty? Why were you convicted? Well, I didn't do anything. I just took a guilty plea. Well, why did you take a guilty plea if you didn't do anything? People's brains can't even fathom that. They don't understand that people take pleas because they got jobs. They're trying to speed the process up. They ain't trying to drag this out. They're afraid that the worst could happen if they go to trial, because that's what they tell you. If you go to trial, you know, you could get the maximum penalty. But what they don't tell you, if you go to trial, you're more likely to get your case thrown out. In fact, if you go to trial, you are more likely to have your case thrown out, dismissed, than being found guilty. You are. You are. But you are more likely to be found guilty when you accept a motherfucking guilty plea. You see what I'm saying? Fight for your junk. Fight for your junk. And honestly, people shouldn't be penalized just because they decided to take it to trial. Oh, well, I take it to trial. Now the judge pissed that you done motherfucker took it to trial. And mind you, they're understaffed. They're underfunded. You know, they got, in a city as big as Rochester, we got like, what, 12 judges that oversees everything from criminal to motherfucking real estate to motherfucking housing to motherfucking family court. Like, we got like 12 judges that oversees everything. And there's 210,000 people that live here. You can't tell me that you think the criminal justice system is working efficiently and adequately. Hell nah. Y'all pump people out like it's literally, it's like an assembly line. They just go down the line, pump them out, pump them out, pump them out. Next one, pump them out, pump them out. Next one, pump them out, pump them out. They don't care nothing about the details of your stuff. They don't care nothing about none of that. All they know is it's a paycheck. They trying to move on to the next. It's a job. Right? And so back to our case, or our example, in the city is big, you know, with 2,000 cases, 1,800 of them, 90% of 2,000 cases, 1,800 of them are resolved by plea bargains. And a lot of the times, people are charged with things that they did not do, right? The police throw on charges in hopes that at least one of them stick. A lot of the times,